these team review things here. But let's also get a Discord link already ready in here.
Yeah,
so people can get to that. Perfect. But yeah, it's football. What are some of your guys' favorite plays? I'm very curious what you guys really like tonight.
I like Rashee's receptions line.
Ooh, well, I mean that makes sense.
I believe it's 5.5.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm kind of hesitant to bet this matchup personally. I just
have to because it's just been so long. But there's you don't really know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I don't mind Ravens to cover. That's probably
I like Lamar's rushing line.
You think Lamar's going to scramble like a madman?
He seemed to emphasize a lot in the offseason. Like, he kept talking about how he was losing weight and getting skinnier because he didn't like that he wasn't as explosive last year. So I feel like he's going to try to emphasize that right away. The Derrick Henry touchdown line just feels like a trap, but it should happen. Ryan, that's fun. Throw a big Marv 65 in there.
All right. Now we're bumping. All right. So I'm going to focus on TikTok here, see how maybe we'll get into the YouTube, and then we'll start grinding through these team reviews here.
Cool.
Ryan, I'd low-key swap Ladd and Worthy. There's a Caleb Williams free square thing this weekend on there, so I paired it with Lamar over 1.5 total touchdowns.
Is the Caleb free square 1 rushing yard?
1 passing yard.
1 passing yard.
Yeah. Start Metcalf or Kirk. I kind of like Kirk based on Jackson sent over a few stats and some analysis on who's going to be guarding who in that Seahawks matchup, and this feels like a big JSN spot. Seems like PS2 is going to be shadowing DK for most of the game, so I would probably lean Kirk against the Dolphins secondary.
Yeah.
Give me Zach Moss, Michael. Super positive game script. Bears run D was good last year, so back the Bengal.
Grant, what did you get the Rasheed 5.5 receptions on that?
Let me find it. It was minus 140 or something. It wasn't. I don't know if it was the actual. I think it's at 6 for even, but the 5.5 is 140 ish.
I'm seeing.
Do you see him at 6?
No, 5.5 minus 163.
Yeah. I took it a couple days ago, so maybe it changed. I don't know, but I still think 6 is very much in play. Just big push potential.
I also honestly don't mind Kelsey 5.5 receptions. The Ravens, relative to their other defensive positions, don't defend the tight end that well.
Splashed a little 10 spot on Mark Andrews' first touchdown.
Ooh.
What do you guys think of the Brazilian matchup? What should we be expecting there?
I like
who's
Philly.
Going to go off?
I like Philly, but I mean, in terms of players to go off, it's hard because the Packers full defense is. There's a lot of the same players, but it's a full overhaul in terms of scheme. It's gonna be a lot more press coverage, way different than what they had last year. That their defense had a ton of holes last year that you could see in the playoff games and even towards the end of the season. Like the Panthers put up a decent number on them. It was just not a great defense. So it's kind of hard to pick what their emphasis is going to be. I feel like Saquon gets fed a lot early. As far as the Packers receivers, I like Jaden Reed a lot tomorrow. Rashee Rice or Devontae Smith? Probably Rashee. They're in a similar area for me, though, probably. Michael, I was just talking about the Rice receptions. I'm with you there. The other thing I had was Lamar over 1.5 total touchdowns.
But, all right. Well, who knows? Maybe it'll be a smaller stream for today. We'll see if people decide to join in here, and as we kind of get more teams done. But we'll go ahead and get started on the first game review here. So we've got Kyler Murray, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Brock Bowers, James Conner, Cowboys defense, Kyrie Fairbairn, Rashee Rice sitting on your bench. I would put him over Mike Evans for right now and basically move him to the slot or Garrett Wilson, either or. Just so you have the flexibility if need be. I really think you should be starting Rashee Rice every single weekend because he's going to be more fancy flexible.
Mike's cutting out a tiny bit here.
Of course. But yes, I would put Rashee Rice over James Conner in this lineup at minimum, but I wouldn't be putting him in the flex spot. I'd be putting him in the wide receiver spot. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on how to go about that. Joe Mixon, I think he's a fine running back, but I'd be trying to upgrade out of that. Overall, it's a fine squad.
Would you rather start Rice at the wide receiver spot so you can have the flex available for whoever you can?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Move Rice here over Evans or Wilson. Move them to the flex so you can have that movability if you wanted.
Agreed.
But outside of that, I really like the squad. Should be very fun for fantasy. You've got a lot of great options here on your bench. You can really trade up. You've even got your own handcuff. Very, very fun squad.
Yeah, it's hard to tell how deep this league is. I would guess probably 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be 12, I guess. But the bench has some fun upside swings as well. And Rashee is too good to be taking up a bench spot. So eventually you'll be able to make some moves probably, which we can help you with in the future.
All right, what do we think of this trade question here in chat as we get kind of building through these lineups? And then I'll have Jackson walk them through on how to join this team rating here, just in case anyone's curious.
I would do that, Robert. Yeah. I think Olave is going to get a lot of targets. And Jamar is going to be involved early and often in the passing game. So it feels like a spot where, especially in full point, he's going to get a lot of work. Devontae basically in the same offense as last year. Quarterback still a question mark. And then you add in a top 12 pick tight end who's going to eat up some target share. So also A.J. Brown's just not the greatest full point player. So I like the second group for sure.
And then Jackson, you mind walking through how to get their teams rated?
Yep. All you got to do is click the link in chat. That will take you to our Discord, Prediction Strike Army. Once you're in there, all you have to do is send me a DM at Jamario Moon, like the ex-NBA player. And once you do that, stay in your DMs with me, and I'll send you instructions on how to get signed up.
Alex, please don't do that.
Please do not do that trade.
Yeah.
With that said, we
just had to get that out there.
Yeah. Please do not do that one, Alex. That would be a terrible trade for you. With that said, moving on to the next team here, we got Anthony Richardson, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, Devon Achon, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, DJ Moore, Brock Bowers on the bench, Michael Pittman. So you are beyond stacked at the receiver position here, it looks like. Yeah, very, very strong squad. Like this team a lot. Poop Kid, fun name. I would just be trying to trade off of Kamara. I think Kamara is going to have a great week against Carolina this week. But ultimately, you should be trying to tier this up into like a high tier 1 of a running back that you can lean on, like a Bijan, like a Breece Hall, somebody of that caliber. And realistically, like Taysom Hill is a fun option, but he's not somebody you want to be relying on week to week. So you need to be getting yourself a Sam Laporta or one of those like amazing tight ends to get on your team as well. But overall, I really like this squad. Any thoughts on this one, guys?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
I'm with you.
Oh, you said you would be getting Chase and Laporta for Amon-Ra? Yes, fleece that man. Get Chase and Laporta for Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Clarity is definitely helpful, Alex. Let's see here. Jared Goff, Josh Jacobs, Bijan Robinson, Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice. I mean, this is just an absolutely stacked squad. Really, really like this team. You should be winning your week 1 matchup at bare minimum. Yeah, really strong team. Like it a lot. Not much to be said. And he even did the bench well. Like I'm not a big Ramondre Stevenson guy, but I understand why people have him on their bench. At least we're not seeing a bunch of Tyler Lockett's today. What do you guys think between Ladd McConkey and Jerome Ford at the flex this week?
I think
Probably Ford.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I think he's a more sure asset at this point. I mean, it seems like for the first few weeks at least, I heard some inside rumblings that Chubb could have potentially even played week 1, but they decided to put him on the PUP, so he's out for a couple weeks. So I think that Ford is probably a much more sure thing right now.
With that said, moving on to the next squadron. We have Richardson, Mike, Diggs, Hall, Pollard, Laporta, Rice, Deontay Johnson. Love your receiving core here. Running backs are fun, like the upside you have on your bench here. Defense versus Denver, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think this is a fun squad. I like how you built it. Like, realistically, you need to build up your RB2 here, and you can always take steps forward with the receivers, but I think these are going to be more than fine. But yeah, build up your RB2 is kind of the only thing you can really do better on this team. Really, really strong squad. Let's see. How do you send the team? Jackson will walk you through that.
Yep. Just click the link to our Discord, and that should be in both the YouTube and TikTok chat. Once you do that, all you have to do is send me a DM in the Discord at Jamario Moon is my username, and then I'll give you the instructions to get your team on this review session.
I encourage people to go towards Khalil Shakir this weekend. Curtis Samuel's coming off of a turf toe injury, which hasn't boded too well for a lot of receivers coming off that the first week back. But with that said, we move to the next team. We got CJ Stroud, My Sweet Prince, Kenneth Walker, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Brock Bowers, Drake London. Fun squad. I like it a lot. There is definitely some liability in the running back room, but these guys are great point per dollar plays. Really like the upside you're taking here. But I do want to take a second. I want to ask Grant about Devontae Adams. Should we just be expecting a 100-yard game from him this weekend? I heard that his grandparents are apparently going to be in town for the first time ever or something like that.
Yeah,
People have been chatting a lot of shit
in these games. I mean, he's a great player. It's just I don't know what the offense is going to look like. I think it's going to be a lot of run. I mean, he'll get his 10-plus targets guaranteed, and the Chargers secondary is not good. So, in theory, there's a lot of room to be successful there. I mean, in this team especially, like he's a perfect wide receiver 3 even for you, or he's probably, I don't know, wide receiver 2 or 3 for you, but you have plenty of wide receivers on your bench too. So I would definitely be starting him this week. It's a very positive matchup. And I think you just wait a couple weeks and hopefully Terry's as good as I'm expecting, or Devontae Smith, and then you can make some moves, or you can even move off of like a Drake London or Devontae Adams after a big week this week and try to tear up a little bit. But I like that team and that build a lot for sure.
Fair enough. All righty. Now we move forward once again. All right. We got Jaden Daniels, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Sam Laporta, Marvin Harrison. Very, very fun squad. Sounds like a small league.
10-man.
Yeah. B squad. I would, in theory, like I want some other receivers personally, but if this is your flavors of ice cream, I think it's fine.
I mean, still Waddle on the bench too.
Yeah, you got Waddle on the bench. I didn't even see that. Like, I don't know why he's not starting over Zay Flowers
or Terrathan.
Yeah, overall, very, very strong squad. Hard to hate on this one. Yeah, on squad overall. And then on to the last one that we have for at least right now. We've got T-Law, Bijan, Taylor, Nico, Garrett Wilson, Trey McBride, Ramondre. Not a big Ramondre stan, but he's fine, I guess. I would be trying to find somebody else to fill this slot. I'd rather take shots on Coleman and Kirk here than Ramondre this weekend. But that is just my 2 cents on those two. Yeah, your running backs are fine, realistically. I think you need to upgrade your flex, though, ultimately. So I'd be trying to pair a few of these options together to take another step forward there. But, yeah. All right. Well, with that said, do we have any more teams coming in, Jackson, or we got a shorter stream today?
We have 2 requests. Still haven't gotten the PS accounts from them yet. So.
All right. Sounds good. So wait a bit. Well, while we do that, we could also just go through the kind of week one guys that you absolutely love if you guys want to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Down.
All right. So we'll start with one with my beautiful artistic skills. So we'll do a little slideshow here. Share this tab instead for the peoples. So NFL week one, beautiful pronunciation. Smash the F for plays. All right. So Cooper Cup, walk me through why you guys like this one.
Yeah. So I wanted to add Cooper. I thought this could potentially be a smash week for him. He has a decent matchup here against the Detroit Lions. Game has the highest point spread of the entire weekend. So the Rams passing attack should be lighting it up for most of the game. I think that presents opportunity for Kupp, especially with Puka nursing that injury. He's still going to play, but I mean, that can only go one way in terms of affecting usage, and it's in benefit of Kupp. So yeah, I like him here.
Seems like an absolute smash spot. I agree. I like buying the dip. I think being projected for around 15 fantasy points in this matchup is way too low as well. Evan Ingram, you've put me on him towards the latter part of the season. I'm becoming more of a truther. Walk me through why you like him this specific weekend.
Yeah. So Miami, kind of a middling defense, but pretty solid all around. One position they actually struggled a lot with last season was the tight end position. We know this sort of new look Jaguars wide receiver core isn't completely buttoned up. We don't know exactly what the pecking order is there outside of Evan Ingram, who's consistently been one of Lawrence's favorite targets. I think he is going to be one of the only people like to have consistent targets. I feel like the offense could, to an extent, even run through him against the Dolphins this weekend. So I think Ingram, like especially at cost in most markets, is definitely a smash.
Right on. All right, and on to the next one here. Jonathan Taylor. You just saw him on the last game. Why do you love him in this environment?
Yep. I mean, I don't see any reason why not to take JT in most markets here. He has scored a rushing touchdown in, I think, 7 of his last 8 appearances. The Texans D-line last season allowed almost 100 rushing yards per game, 27.5 rushing attempts allowed, and over 1 rushing touchdown a game, 21st generally, so not the best run defense. Another situation where I think the Texans have like a very improved secondary going into this season. A lot of the offense should end up going through JT on the Colts side, with Richardson getting back into the groove of things.
Right on. All right, Grant, sell us on CeeDee Lamb. Why do you like him against this Denver Broncos secondary? Not Denver Broncos, Cleveland Browns. I can't even get the teams right.
I mean, I just feel like he's going to be back with a vengeance. He got his bag. He's fresh. I don't see him needing much time to really recoup and figure things out. I think he's going to hit the ground running. He's my runaway pick for Offensive Player of the Year this season. I think we could even see some records broken. I think we see a massive season out of him. He's my wide receiver 1 for a reason. And I think this matchup, the Browns defense is obviously good, but the corners in general aren't their strongest suit. I think that the safety play is good, and then obviously the front 7 is pretty elite. But I just feel like this is a situation where the Cowboys won't be able to run the ball super effectively. I think there's going to be a lot of passing in their scheme this year, just based on the running backs they've brought in and kind of just the whole build of the roster in general. And C just feels like the true alpha. I like him in general just this season because it feels like every other receiver who's in kind of that tier has some question marks, or at least has competition around them. Whether it's Chase with like a T. Higgins and kind of his contract situation, or Justin Jefferson having to play with Sam Darnold. There's just kind of question marks, and CD feels like he is by far and away his team's number 1 option, and is about as good as you can find in the league. So big on him this week, and just in general, he's my wide receiver 1. So
what's said, Jackson? They want to know how to make sure to get their team sent to you while we're going through this.
Yep, all you got to do is join the Discord. The link should be in this chat here.
Once it's up, in there, I can paste it in there. It should be down there now.
Yeah, all you got to do is send me a DM once you're in there at Jamario Moon, like the ex-NBA player. Then I'll give you instructions. Cool. I'll hop in there right now. Ryan.
Awesome. Yep. And Jackson will be with you guys as long as he's not touting some of these amazing picks that these guys have put together here. But with that said, we're moving on to Grant's next one. Breece Hall, alpha play Breece. What are we expecting him in this spot here?
So last year I was big on Breece as well. It seemed like he was kind of he lost some of that explosiveness that we saw during his rookie season. He didn't fully recover. It didn't really seem like at all last season, maybe towards the end, but it was hard for him to recover once he was adding additional wear and tear throughout the season. It was hard to really address the explosiveness lost from that ACL injury during his rookie season. It feels like this year, I know people are high on Aaron Rodgers and feel like he's going to have a huge season, but I think this team is more built for a balanced attack, even potentially more emphasizing the run than the pass. So I feel like Breece is going to get a ton of work. He's going to catch balls. He's going to be taking the ball up the middle. I feel like the Niners' run defense is a little overrated. It's a good defense in general, but it seems like teams were kind of able to have their way during the playoffs last year. We saw what Gibbs and Montgomery were able to do in that game, and Aaron Jones also had a big game in that round before. So it just feels like a spot where the Jets start out the season handing the ball off a lot, not putting too much pressure on Aaron Rodgers coming back in that first game. I'm sure he'll also be ready to go as well, but this just feels like a spot where Breece is going to be the emphasis, and he's going to be able to carve up a run defense that hasn't been amazing.
Right on. All right, on to the next guy. Your final one, Dalton Kincaid against this Cardinals squad.
Yeah, Cardinals linebackers in general just haven't really moved me in a few years. There's not much pass coverage there, and Kincaid offers a good mix of size and speed that's hard to cover for anyone, let alone a group that's not super far along. I like him in general just because he feels like of the tight ends. I guess Kelsey is probably their guaranteed number one option, you would think. But Kincaid feels like the tight end with the biggest opportunity to be their team's number one wide receiver. And this is a favorable matchup to start off a very positive campaign this season for Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid. All right. Now the ones that you guys love, regardless of the matchup. So Zamir White, walk us through Zeus.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of people kind of treat Zamir like a rookie. Like we want to see like what he's going to look like before he comes out in week one. He looked super good at like on the latter half of last season. Averaged 99.3 rushing yards on 21 attempts per contest from week 15 to week 18. And I want to point out in most, like it's a smash on Prediction Strike, and also in most markets, like you'll see here on PS, he's only projected for 56.4 rushing yards. That's where most markets stand, even though he's proven to be like a 15 to 20 carry type of guy, 100-yard games all the time type of guy. He's only got Madison behind him. Chargers interior defensive line and linebacker core rank near the bottom of the league. So yeah, I mean, I just expect him to get the normal usage we saw in the back half of the season, like with only Madison behind him. He should be the chain mover. We're getting super good value, especially I think on his rushing props. So
yeah, right on. Love Zamir this week. All right, moving on to the next one we got here. Khalil Shakir. I mean, we all love this play.
How can you not? And we already had Kincaid up because that's a good play. I didn't want to put both of them like I would have in the guys I put on here, but I just decided to go with Shakir because the Cardinals actually ended up ranking top 5 in tight end defense just based on tight end stats last season. So I thought the wideout might have a little bit of an advantage here. He's the most familiar target for QB Josh Allen outside of Dalton Kincaid. And I think this week he probably has the same ceiling as most wide receiver ones, if not all, and the floor of like a good wide receiver too. So, and I feel like we're getting him at floor prices in terms of his projections in most markets based on that floor that I gave him. So love Shakir here. Think he'll have a big week. He stepped up his production big time when Gabe began to struggle last season. So I like him on an island here.
Right on. All right, moving on to the next guy that we like a lot here, Patty Fry. All right, what are you expecting out of Patty Fry here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a more out there pick, especially not for like the controversial ones. But I'm just not convinced, just based on Pickens' profile, like his separation skills to enter the season as the immediate clear receiving, like number one receiving target for Russell Wilson. That being said, I think Muth makes a lot of sense to pick up a portion of the load here against Atlanta, who was really bad at defending tight ends last season. Haven't done anything to improve that really in their linebacker core. Russ, and it's like people say Russ doesn't target his tight ends either. That is purely a Denver thing. He targeted guys like Hollister, Jimmy Graham, Van Ness when he was on Seattle just as much as his wide receivers. I think Jimmy Graham had a clip of like 30% target share. So he likes his tight ends. I'm excited to see what he does here with Muth.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens there. All right, so going to skip past the Kyle Pitts pick. This was made before we found out about hamstring injury. But
yeah, I can talk about someone else then in here in place of Kyle Pitts. Two guys I love this week with very positive matchups in my opinion are Njoku and Trey McBride. Trey McBride is probably a higher tier option, so we can skip past that one. I just think his matchup against Buffalo is super favorable with Matt Milano out of the game and positive game script. It feels like a spot where a tight end is going to be able to carve up a defense that's really missing a coverage linebacker right now. But then on the Njoku side of things, I feel like it's loud. I feel like the Cowboys defense is relatively slow, especially in the middle of the defense with those linebackers. And I feel like it's a great spot for Njoku to get in the middle of the field and start off the season as a big athletic target for Deshaun to hit to kind of get into the swing of things. So that's a spot I love for him.
Right on. All right, moving on to the next one here. So your last guy, Zach Moss, named as the RB1 on the depth chart. What are you expecting out of this guy here?
We were talking about it earlier with someone had a question on starting him over Pollard, I think. I just love the game script spot. This is the biggest favorite of the weekend, the Bengals over the Patriots. And it just feels like a spot for a power back, or I guess the more power back between the two to get a lot of run between the tackles to just kind of push the ball down the field, especially if they build a bit of a lead. I think the second half can be dominated by Zach Moss. It feels like it's wide open for running back to kind of chew clock in that second half against a team that I anticipate will be one of the worst teams in the league. So just feels like a great spot, and he's more than capable of getting like 4 yards of carry and moving the ball down the field. So like the spot a lot more than I like the player, but I like the player too.
Hell yeah. All right, moving on. We've got Ladd McConkey as another guy.
Yeah. I just don't think the Chargers would have used the draft capital they did.
This is ridiculous.
They weren't very confident in his ability. It feels like kind of the opposite of Quentin Johnson. This is more of a sure thing, a guy that has had his injury questions at Georgia, but every time he's been on the field, super sure hands, really crispy route runner. Always tends to find himself open, even against cornerbacks that are faster than him or more athletic than him. He's just crafty and kind of finds his way open in a lot of situations. And that feels like the perfect wide receiver in a Jim Harbaugh offense. And in particular with Justin Herbert, it feels like there's a lot of situations where guys have been open for him in the past and they've just had drop issues. And this is a guy you don't have to worry about that with. He's kind of sure hands, a safety blanket that'll continuously find himself open. And I just think that he is probably the wide receiver one in this offense. I mean, it could be Josh Palmer for sure, but this just feels like a guy that they went out and got, and they had full intentions of taking him with that pick. So I have a lot of confidence in him this weekend.
Love it. All right. With that said, we move on to our next category. And before we dive into that, Jackson, do you mind refreshing people on how exactly to get their team sent in to you?
What the hell is this?
All you got to do is click the link to our Discord, which should be in the YouTube chat. Once you do that, you'll be in our Discord, the Prediction Strike Army. Just send me a DM at Jamario Moon, and then I'll give you instructions on how to get your team set up on the review today.
Awesome. Yep. And once we're done with this little section, we're using this as a fill-in period here to get your teams reviewed. So if you want to get that done, awesome. But yes, so you're the guy in the corner here. You're the only one that sees this. Everybody else is having a good time. But like you're the only one sees that this is actually the good play. I probably should make this the sit section of this category. That'd probably be wiser with this. Everybody's excited about this play. You're just like, it's terrible, but we'll work on that next time. With that said, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, walk it away. Where are we going with here, Jackson?
So I don't think this take is necessarily as crazy cool as it was before we learned that Jaquan McMillan is going to be shadowing JSN and not PS2 for this whole game. Nonetheless, though, I think this is a pretty slept-on play because that news still hasn't really like broken to the general public too hard yet. PS2 is going to be on DK. Outside of him, Broncos have a pretty bad pass defense. Lockett isn't playing, is just generally on his way out. Everyone in the fantasy world is talking about JSN having a breakout season. I don't really see why this game one isn't the prime spot for him to start doing that.
Love it. Moving on, Rico Dowdle. Love this play. Walk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, so there's just like the general profile of the Cowboys that benefits this play. It's hard to know how the Cowboys are going to split up their backfield between him, Zeke, Dalvin Cook. But from what we saw last season, how fresh Dowdle is compared to where Cook and Zeke are in their respective careers, I think he's more than likely the best option for the Cowboys. I think that's something the Cowboys realize too. Yes, the Browns do have a good rush D relative to the rest of the NFL. Better pass defense, so the points are going to have to come from somewhere. They also had the worst red zone defense in the NFL last season, allowing 71% of red zone drives to result in a touchdown. They also ranked last in goal-to-go defense. We're the only team to allow 90% of goal-to-go situations to result in a touchdown. So, also their new defensive tackle is more of like a pass rush upside kind of guy than, yeah. So I think it'll be a good day for Dowdle.
Right on. I'd go with Reed over Worthy. Moving on to the next one. We got Jadavion Sanders. News is kind of breaking his way. What do you like about this play?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you kind of said about that. It mainly has to do with the week one outlook on Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas. They're both nursing their respective soft tissue injuries. Multiple reports, I think, on Tuesday revealed also that the Panthers are going to sign Messiah Swenson off the Green Bay Packers practice squad. So I think they are realizing they're going to be really short at tight end come week one, or come this week, I should say. I don't think both of those guys are going to be ready to suit up on Sunday. Maybe one of them. Either way, that leaves an opportunity for Sanders to suit up here and get some action. So I kind of like him. He's had a great summer. Jatavion Sanders is my sleeper pick of the week for tight end.
I like it a lot, honestly. Not a lot of people are thinking about it. I mean, the only reason I recently found out Jatavion Sanders could potentially be a thing this weekend was why you pointed out as a guy you liked, and B, when I saw the clip, I'm like, oh wait, they're going to be without Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas probably.
Yeah,
this could be awesome.
Exactly. I think it's worth a swing.
We move to Grant's guy, who is also a rookie, Ben Sinnott. Defend your man.
I just love the narrative of rookie quarterbacks tending to lean towards a big target in areas of distress. So it feels like to me that Sinnott is the guy in this offense for him to look at. The thing with rookie tight ends, you don't really know what the role is going to be right away, especially with Ertz there. But Ertz is just not a guy I'm super confident in being able to be on the field super often. At this stage in his career, he's kind of like a run a route, catch a ball, and sit down kind of guy, a possession receiver. Sinnott feels like he is going to be more capable to make some more dynamic plays. And I feel like they're going to find interesting ways to get him out on the field. Use a second-round pick on him. So obviously, like the value there, it feels like they want to emphasize him in this offense. I don't know that I would necessarily start him right away, but he's a guy I'm very in tune with and interested in, especially this week. I think it's a favorable matchup as well. And I just like the potential for sure. I feel like he is a guy that will definitely be the starting tight end and the number one tight end target going in towards the later half of the season. And this is a team really without a wide receiver too. I mean, there's going to be someone else out there catching
Get ready,
passes.
Luke McCaffrey, buddy.
No, I know, but there's just not like a guy you're super confident in taking targets away other than Terry. So it feels like an offense that's wide open for a guy to come in and kind of make a difference, especially with a young quarterback. So
that's fair. He's exciting. Moving on to the next one, Jaleel McLaughlin. Love this pick. Walk me through it.
Yeah, I don't trust Seattle's run defense, and I mean this is a game that could potentially get out of hand. I guess it feels like Seattle should be able to win this game, but I think as long as it's close, the Broncos are going to lean on the rushing attack, especially with a rookie quarterback making his first ever start. I expect Bo Nix to look somewhat comfortable, but either way, this is a guy that I feel like is going to be leaned on heavily in the pass game and also taking big chunk plays on third downs and stuff in the rush game. I think he's a guy that is absolutely worth rostering. I wouldn't be fully comfortable starting him right away, I guess, but if you're in any sort of best ball format or you're just looking for a guy to take props on or anything like that, I think he will have a much bigger game than anticipated, and it's going to be a bigger part of the offense than I think people are thinking. So
yeah, I agree.
That Seahawks run defense too is kind of the way to beat them. Their secondary is elite, and the pass rush is pretty good as well. So it feels like if you're going to be able to stay in this game, it's going to have to be through big chunk plays on the ground, and McLaughlin's a guy that can absolutely do that.
Yeah, and Sean Payton targets his running backs at a top 5 rate every single week, so that is a awesome thing as well. Moving on, we've got Dontavian Wicks going to Brazil.
He's just my guy. I picked him up in whatever leagues I can. I truly believe he's their best pure receiver. We didn't really see many games last year when the whole group of 4 was healthy and Reed, Dobbs, Watson, and Wicks. There were kind of weeks where all of them were injured, so it'd be interesting to see how the season starts with all 4 of them healthy and kind of what roles they end up playing. But he's a guy with a crazy catch radius, is capable of making those spectacular catches, and also is just a really, really good route runner. Runs routes like he's been in the league for years, and they always come up crispy, finds his way open a lot, and this feels like a spot against an Eagles secondary that really struggled. They obviously brought in 2 pretty highly touted rookies, which I feel like is a fun thing for them in the future, but I think they might struggle off the bat. You don't really tend to see rookies come in right away and impact the defense immediately. So this feels like a spot where Wicks is going to have some matchups against the Eagles, like second and third corners, and he's going to be able to route him up and kind of show him who's boss in that matchup. So I like to play a lot, especially given his projection. I feel like people are kind of sleeping on him. So
100%. Love that. Yeah, very cheap projection on Wicks this week. We'll be very interested to see how that goes. With that said, hopefully you guys got your teams into Jackson. So that way we can get back into the overall team review portion of this here. So if you did, awesome. We got a few more teams to go through here, and then we'll count it off here. So on to the next squad. We got Patrick Mahomes, Kyren Williams, James Cook, Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice.
I think you need to switch screens still.
Switch screens? Oh, I didn't switch. My bad. There we go. All right. We got Patrick Mahomes, Kyren Williams, James Cook, Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice, Kyle Pitts, Keenan Allen, Kyler Murray. So Superflex squad, 10-man Superflex. All right. You got Deontay Johnson on your bench. That is fine. Let's see here. I would be trying to upgrade this running backs here to some more safe, consistent options. But we will see how that kind of goes through this week. Perhaps James Cook is the guy you need in fantasy this year. Let's see. How do you submit? Again, you did it last year, but don't remember. So you come into the TikTok live here, or you go to the Discord, either or. You mainly just need to go to the Discord. You DM Jackson at Jamaru Moon, and then he'll walk you through how to get your team onto the spreadsheet here. But with that said, yeah, I'd just be trying to upgrade these running backs realistically. I don't have the same level of faith in their longevity for the season anymore. But we will see. I don't mind the squad, though. I like how it's built. For
QBs are elite for Superflex, too.
QBs are ridiculous. With that said, we move on to the next squadron. All right, we got Jared Goff, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Jonathan Taylor, Kyle Pitts, Christian Watson, Taysom Hill on the bench, Kirko 2 Chains, Chase Brown, Coleman, Brian Thomas, Jonathan Brooks on IR. Jets defense on your bench. That's fine. Atlanta defense. See, I would just start the Jets. I wouldn't even do Atlanta. That's not worth rostering on my bench, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I feel like this week starting Atlanta over the Jets makes sense in a vacuum. But
I guess, but I don't know. Jets defense is just I trust it too much. Kirk Cousins, no. For me, I don't see the need on him for this team. I imagine you're an Atlanta fan, considering all the Atlanta pieces you grabbed here.
I think I guess you're probably just going for like the potential stack during a bye week, but when he's your backup quarterback, it's not super essential in my opinion.
Yeah,
but I do like the running back upside swings you have there.
You can do Kirk over Goff for correlation in theory. That's really about it, though.
Yeah, but the Chase Brown and Jonathan Brooks swings I feel like are a good shout, especially given that your flex currently isn't super reliable. I feel like you'll be able to slot in one of those guys in a few weeks after they have kind of taken the role in their offenses. So I feel like you're in a good spot to succeed later on in the season.
Overall, it's a fine squad, though. I like it. Just some takes I don't personally agree with, but that's fantasy as a whole. So overall, fun squad, like it. Let's see here. Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan. Oh, Jesus Christ. Did you just okay, this is like a 4-man.
8-man?
Dude, you don't need
an 8-man?
Yeah, this doesn't even look like an 8-man. This looks like a 2-man. Like, you basically got every single first-round receiver that there was. And
2 first-round running backs.
Yeah, this is just drafting on easy mode, man. There's nothing to be said about this.
Do I start Richardson over Lamar if my opponent has JT? No.
That's like
I would start Lamar. I mean, your team's good enough that it won't matter. I don't really understand how this team exists, but
this team probably projects for like 300 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got another Superflex squad here in 10 PIM PPR Dynasty. Fun. Let's see here.
Yeah, quarterbacks are great for a Dynasty.
Yeah, this is a really good squad for Dynasty. I like it. I mean, I'd be looking for more young running backs. Like Jalen Wright's fine, but I'd go take some swings on some really cheap guys. I'd go buy Audric Estime for pennies on the dollar right now. I
would sell off Dak potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jaden's sitting there, he's not worth just benching.
Yeah.
In Superflex format, that's too big of an asset to have there. So I would probably try to sell off. I mean, I guess you have CD, so that stack is pretty enticing, I guess. But like, I don't know. It just seems like an asset in Jaden Daniels that's not worth having on the bench. But that's just my opinion.
So, but yeah, I would just be trying to like make your running back core better because that's where it's going to get really weak really fast. In the long run here. Overall, really fun.
Yeah, I would move off a quarterback in McLaurin or something for like a very good running back potentially, but
probably not McLaurin because you got Daniels, but
true.
Or Godwin, you can probably sell if they have a good weekend this weekend. But let's see here. On to the next squad, we got Richardson, Brees, Bijan, Mike, Drake, Egram. Yeah, really, really strong squad once again. 7-man league. I see why. Yeah, ridiculous squad. Once again, not really much to be said here. I always find it interesting when people join really small leagues and are like, is my team good? It's like
this makes that other dude's 10-man team look ridiculous.
Yeah. Like
the other guy had Amon-Ra, Jefferson, and Chase.
Like this is a 4-man league.
Yeah,
like
what is it? Might be 2.
Like I just there's no world you get all 5 of these guys together. Like even with trading, and you got Achon, Drake, Jefferson, and Olave on your bench. Chase. Oh, I've just happened to have Garrett Wilson on my bench too.
4 top 10 receivers.
Like, come on, man. Do better. Let's see here. With that said, I like this squad a lot for a 7-man. Jaden Daniels, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, Marv, Waddle, Ingram, Terry, Jerome, Dak on your bench, Bucky for upside. Yeah, I love the upside plays you have here. I'm not a big Brandon Cooks guy, but it seems like you got a nickname for him called the Chef, so I guess he cooks up for you. But outside of that, yeah, it's a fun one. I like the little nicknames. Marvin the Martian.
This is a pretty great team for 12-man too. It's
really good team for a 12-man
with plenty of options once Jerome Ford potentially isn't the lead there.
Bucky sounds very live to take over that backfield.
Yeah. And there's 2 receivers that could be the number 1 target in their offense that you could slide in there too. So
yeah. And we really don't know based off of what Zach Taylor said yesterday. We don't know who the true RB1 is, but we're going to assume it's Zach Moss right now.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like week 4 and then it's all Chase Brown because he does well with his touches and stuff.
Yeah, trades with idiots. I mean, your league mates just don't like. You guys probably don't have a buy-in then or anything, because if you do, there's just you're playing with some very special people. London, Debo, Mixon, Rice. I just point towards Debo and Rice. I like those the most. I think London's fine if you like him against Pittsburgh. But let's see, your $50 buy-in. Well, that's free money, man. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous. That said, all right, we're on to this. How many more squads do we have after this, Jackson? Or are we
one
hold off till next
this one I'm adding right now. It should be the very last.
Okay, sounds good. So final squad we have here. We'll wait for this one, and then we'll be doing more. Whatchamacallit? We'll do this again tomorrow.
Yeah.
But let's see here. Herbert, Gibbs, White, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Kincaid, Swift, Reed, Prescott, Edwards, Moss, McConkey, Freiermuth. I like it. You don't really need Dak, though. You don't have correlation with him, and it's just better to take another side swing there. That's just me. But that's just me.
This is a 10-man, too.
I put 20 for $90 cash out for Pacheco and Mark Andrews, 1 TD each, W or L in all caps.
Wait, you can cash out. Wait. Oh, I see.
I guess I don't know.
I like it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I like the squad, though. There's like not much to be said about it in the sense that it's like you got to probably have Bucky Irving for a contingency thing here for Rachaad White. And Pat Freiermuth is like, he's going to be fun, but like he's probably a better and best ball guy for me. Will be interesting to see how this team kind of plays out. I would be trying to encourage like building this spot up. I like your tight end and like your technical flexes here. What should you try to improve? Your technical flexes here. Like DeAndre Swift, I don't think is going to be super reliable. Same thing with Jaden Reed. I like Ladd McConkey a lot. I think Zach Moss is a good swing. Dak Prescott has zero value here. McConkey has value with Herbert, which is also nice. So you get a little bit of correlation there. And Freiermuth, I think you can toss for another upside swing as well. So I'd just be taking a lot of chances on these running backs to essentially have like considered zero market value, but have a lot of like PPR upside. So like a Jaleel McLaughlin, a Rico Dowdle, players that have upside. That's the guys that we really want to be stashing on our benches, because after the first week, the two biggest things that fantasy content creators love to do is they love to go, here are the guys you need on waiver wires, which is annoying because then you're behind and you're having to have first waiver priority or whatever. And two, they love to also tell you about what trades you need to be making. And for me, I prefer to have all the options of the pieces that people are trying to get to. But with that said, I wouldn't trade anything on your team, dude, J-Mac. I'd leave it as it is. Like, it's better that you don't touch it at this point, because if you do, you're going to mess it up somehow. I don't know how you're going to pull it off, but somehow. Well, that said, that's about it for Jackson, Grant, and I on this particular stream. So if you guys want to see what we have for USC cooking up, that'll be coming on out here a little bit later. I'll be live just before lock to talk you guys through how I'm seeing the Ravens Chiefs matchup. If you guys find that insightful or see me as booking with Trent, that's up to you to decide. Let's see here. And then tomorrow we'll have a full-on ranking stream of how we believe you should positionally be going about your starts and sits with the available information, and continuously updating our projection sheet for you guys. Oh God, Wicked Palmato's in here. We all got to get out of here. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't, appreciate you all. Hope you have a great day, and talk to y'all later.